Hey y'all, it's me, Tree. So today we are starting with resentment, then we move into serenity, and then we're ending with miracle. So, resentment, that can point to something that has been difficult to release, maybe emotional baggage, frustration, or even an experience that continues to carry weight for y'all. But serenity, this shifts us into a much calmer space. This is about finding peace despite whatever may be happening externally, and also trusting yourselves to move through it with grace. And then we're ending with miracle. This is about transformation, possibility, and maintaining faith around something that may have once seemed impossible. So I'm getting, there is a clear energetic progression that is happening here. Now let's get into this message. We're starting under this emotional tone of resentment. And underneath that, the tarot comes in with the Nine of Swords reversed, the Hermit, the Six of Coins. So this Nine of Swords reversed, this card immediately tells me that whatever happened here, that has affected the collective deeply. This is not mild frustration. There is emotional anguish here. There is baggage. There are unresolved issues. There may even be something about this situation that connected to an older wound. Something happened maybe that caused y'all to revisit pain that may have existed long before this particular circumstance ever showed up. And sometimes that is exactly why our reactions can feel so much bigger than the event sitting directly in front of us is. That's not necessarily because the event itself was enormous. It's more because it touched something enormous. I'm getting something about this situation hit a core place for the collective. Maybe y'all felt dismissed. Maybe y'all felt undervalued. Maybe y'all felt abandoned, overlooked, disrespected, or even placed in a position where you were expected to, tolerate something that fundamentally did not work for you. Whatever happened in your case, I'm getting it created real mental and emotional anguish. But what I find interesting here is what y'all did with that. Because underneath this Nine of Swords is the Hermit. So I'm getting y'all pulled back. There is contemplation here. There is soul searching. There is solitude. I'm getting that instead of continuing to participate in whatever was creating the anguish, y'all begin looking at it from a distance. And that distance, that gives y'all perspective, doesn't it? This is where I think the resentment starts actually becoming useful. Because now y'all aren't just sitting there saying, I'm angry. No, y'all have started asking yourselves, why did this affect me so deeply? What exactly happened here? What was I participating in? What did I expect? What was actually being received? And most importantly, what does this experience teach me about what I require moving forward? And I'm getting that because underneath the Hermit is this Six of Coins. This is about giving and receiving. This is about balance, equal exchange, care. This is about being valued. And that tells me the reflection ultimately brings y'all back to reciprocity. Because I'm getting somewhere inside of this whole situation, there was an imbalance. Maybe y'all were giving more emotionally. Maybe y'all were showing up with more transparency. Maybe y'all were offering consideration that wasn't being returned. Or maybe somebody simply wasn't meeting y'all at the same level where you stood. But I'm getting that after stepping back and looking at the situation clearly, y'all recognize that reciprocity is not something you are willing to negotiate anymore. And that is exactly where this resentment starts losing its grip now, doesn't it? Because once y'all understand what the resentment was trying to show you, y'all don't have to keep carrying it. Because the resentment, that gave y'all information. It showed y'all where something was out of balance. And now y'all can make a different decision. And I'm getting that brings us directly into this serenity. And underneath serenity, the tarot comes in with the 10 of Coins, the Tower reversed, the King of Wands reversed. So with this 10 of Coins, this feels very strongly like the collective. This is what y'all are building. This is y'all's foundation, y'all's long-term security, y'all's home, y'all's career, y'all's business, y'all's family, and y'all's legacy. This is the life that y'all have been working to create, isn't it, collective? Whatever this 10 of Coins specifically represents for each of y'all, this card says that it is something substantial. I'm getting y'all are not playing around with your future. Y'all are building something that is meant to last. And then comes the Tower reversed. But this Tower specifically speaks about a narrow escape, a near miss, a disaster that was averted. And I think y'all are realizing that whatever environment or situation y'all were participating in, that had the potential to interfere with y'all's 10 of Coins. It could have disrupted what y'all were building. Maybe at the time, it didn't seem that serious. Maybe y'all thought you could participate without allowing it to affect the rest of your life. Maybe y'all believed you could keep the situation contained. But with some distance from the situation, y'all are now realizing that this could have become a real problem. And not just a problem inside of that particular connection or environment, but a problem that could have spilled into everything else. Your peace, your focus, your emotional stability, your productivity, your relationships, your money, your reputation, and your future. So I'm getting something y'all were involved with had the potential to pull attention and energy away from something that is much more important. And then underneath the Tower reversed, we have this King of Wands, also reversed. This king is unpredictable. So what I'm getting is that there is another person attached to this experience. Someone whose behavior may have been difficult to anticipate. There may have been inconsistency, impulsivity. There may have been control issues. And I'm getting that there may simply have been an inability to know what this person was going to do from one moment to the next moment. And y'all were in proximity to this. And collective, I'm going to say it, that matters. Because sometimes we think somebody else's instability belongs exclusively to them. And technically, it does. But on the flip side, when we choose to remain in close proximity to unstable behavior, eventually we can start experiencing the consequences of decisions we didn't even make. And that is what I'm getting this Tower is showing us. This wasn't necessarily the collective's tower. It was a tower y'all were standing close enough to potentially get hit by. And now I'm getting y'all can see that. That's the near miss here. The structure y'all are building is still standing though. But y'all did get a glimpse of what could happen if you continue allowing this energy access to your structure. And strangely enough, that realization brings in this serenity. Because I'm getting serenity isn't always created when circumstances become perfect. No. Sometimes serenity comes when y'all finally understand what has been disrupting your peace and you remove yourself from it. Because there is a huge difference between trying to control an unpredictable person and accepting that this person is unpredictable and I don't have to build my life around it. Y'all don't need to stabilize them. Y'all don't have to anticipate their next move. Y'all don't have to understand every decision they make. Y'all don't even necessarily have to be angry anymore. Y'all just have to recognize that whatever is happening over there, that cannot be allowed to jeopardize what y'all are building over here. And once that thought becomes clear, your attention can return to your 10 of coins, can't it? That's your structure, your foundation, and your future. And then we're landing on this miracle. And underneath miracle, the tarot is driving the message home with the Page of Wands reversed, the 10 of Cups reversed, and the Queen of Wands. So this Page of Wands tells me that once y'all redirect your energy, there may initially be some uncertainty about where it is you're going next. The old direction no longer works. But I'm getting the new direction hasn't completely formed yet either. And I know that that can be uncomfortable. Because sometimes leaving something isn't the difficult part. Sometimes it's standing in the space afterward and realizing, okay, what now? But this Page of Wands specifically speaks about an energy being redirected and finding a new path So I'm getting collective. Y'all are not stuck. Y'all are simply recalibrating. Ideas are forming. And a different direction is beginning to emerge. And then we have this 10 of Cups reversed. So this is not the picture perfect 10 of Cups. This card speaks about a disconnected family. It talks about imbalance, discord, inauthentic relationships. It talks about a false sense of security and overall misalliance. And I think this is another layer of clarity around the environment y'all are leaving. Because I'm getting something may have looked more emotionally aligned from the outside than it actually was from the inside. Maybe this looked like a community. Maybe it looked like friendship. It could have looked like belonging. It could have looked like a relationship. Maybe it simply looked like somewhere y'all could settle in and feel comfortable. But eventually y'all saw and recognized the disconnect underneath it. The emotional structure wasn't as secure as it appeared. Was it collective? And that matters because y'all have already gotten your 10 of coins sitting in the previous column. Y'all are trying to build something real here. So eventually I'm getting a false sense of security. That isn't going to be enough for you. An inauthentic connection, that's not going to be enough either. A misaligned environment isn't going to be enough. Because y'all cannot build something authentic while continually investing yourselves into something that requires y'all to ignore what y'all can clearly see. And that's why this Page of Wands reverse makes even more sense, because the energy, it has to be redirected now. A new path has to be found. And that's not because y'all failed in the old environment. No. It's because y'all finally understood that it wasn't where you belonged. And then this message ends with the Queen of Wands. And I love that this is where this message ends. Because after the anguish, after the resentment, after withdrawing and reflecting, after recognizing the imbalance, after realizing how much was actually at stake, after walking away from the unpredictable energy, and after seeing through the false sense of security, y'all return. Y'all come back to yourselves. The Queen of Wands is confident, strong, courageous. She is energetic. She is outgoing. She is a visionary. And she is magnetic as ever. This is somebody who knows who they are. And I think that's the miracle here, collective. The miracle isn't necessarily that this king changes. It isn't necessarily that the environment suddenly becomes healthy. And it isn't necessarily that the unpredictable king becomes predictable. The miracle may be that y'all directed yourselves before that situation could take something from you that mattered far more than this king did. So, y'all caught it. Y'all saw what was happening. Y'all recognized what it was activating inside of y'all. And then y'all stepped back. Y'all gained perspective. And eventually y'all realized I have too much to build to keep giving my energy to this situation. And that is a completely different relationship with resentment, collective. Because now resentment no longer becomes something that keeps y'all attached to what happened. Now resentment, it becomes information. It showed y'all the imbalance. It showed y'all the wound. It gave y'all perspective. And it established the standard. And then this tower, that showed y'all the risk. Serenity, that allowed y'all to stop fighting what you already knew. And then the Page of Wands redirected your energy towards something brand new. So by the time we finally reach this Queen of Wands, y'all aren't the same people who entered this spread at the beginning. And maybe that's why the final oracle here is miracle. Because I'm getting, sometimes the miracle isn't getting the thing you originally wanted. Sometimes the miracle is realizing that what you wanted could have cost you what it is that y'all were actually meant to protect. So sometimes the miracle is the near miss. Sometimes the miracle is seeing the instability before it becomes your instability. Sometimes the miracle is realizing that belonging somewhere isn't worth sacrificing y'all selves to remain there. And sometimes, collective, the miracle is simply finding y'all's way back to y'all's self. Because y'all have something bigger to build, don't you, collective? And I think that that is exactly where y'all's energy is going next. And that's the message that I have for y'all today. So if this one landed, then like my message, leave me a comment and let me know. And if you made it to the end, I want to hear about it. And make sure y'all are following along. And most importantly, I want y'all to remember, where there is love, there is light. And just like with this message, collective, that love, it's got to always start with you. Because love that doesn't start with you, that does not produce the light. And you know that now, collective. Y'all can truly see the difference now. And that is a true miracle, isn't it? I'll see you guys again real soon.